Joining me now is Dov Hikind. He is actually from New York, lives in New York, but tonight he joins us from Israel. Dov, welcome back to the broadcast. Thanks for being with us.
Pleasure being with you.
Dov, this has been a very troubling few days. We've been playing some clips from President Trump while he was at the G7, comments today by J.D. Vance saying that Israel should stop criticizing President Trump and that we're the only nation with you. Our reporter on the ground in Israel said, look, there are other countries. This is, the United States isn't the only country that stands with Israel. There are others, but we have a right to speak up and speak out. We have freedom of speech here in Israel as well to say what we want to say about a deal that directly impacts us, particularly when this memorandum of understanding wasn't even shown to us. Canada and all kinds of other people got to see it, but not us, right? And the comments are just shocking. I got to play one before I get you to respond, because I don't even know if you've seen this one. This is from the G7, and of course, watch the expression on the face of Marco Rubio, who's just, I think, watching his credibility go up in flames. He's thinking, I'm tied to this man now, and these comments as I stand here. I mean, can you imagine the commercials that are going to be run with him standing back there while this is being said? Watch and listen, please.
It's my hope that the peace agreement will be the beginning of a much larger deal all across the Middle East. We're very close. Look at the job we've done in Gaza. Look at Hamas. Hamas has been very silent. You haven't read anything about Hamas, and we're trying to get them unarmed. They grew up with a machine gun in their hand. I think they actually, when they were born, they came out with a machine gun in their hand, so it's not the easiest thing, but they've actually, behaved pretty well, considering this was not the lifestyle that they were taught to have.
Okay, they behave pretty well. Hamas has a charter that calls for the elimination of the Jewish state. I mean, I can bring up the charter. The charter says that no negotiations, no treaties, none of that is of any importance. It's all a waste of time. The only thing we want is the elimination of the Jewish state and the Jewish people. Hamas, of course, was involved in the systematic slaughter of 1,200 plus Jews, October 7th, 2023. And then, of course, they dragged a bunch of them back to Gaza. They were held, they were murdered, they were raped. Now we have reports that family members who were held together were made to sexually assault each other in order to drive wedges between the families. I mean, the most despicable thing, cutting off breasts, gang raping, putting a baby in an oven. But overall, they behaved themselves pretty well lately, I guess. I mean, would we say that about Jeffrey Dahmer? Would we say that about Ted Bundy? Yeah, I know he killed a bunch of people, his people stuck a fork in a pregnant lady's stomach. But, overall, since then, they behaved themselves pretty well, I mean, I'm just like, what is wrong with this? This is not the Donald Trump of the first term.
It's not even the Donald Trump of the second term, the beginning of the second term. This is mind-boggling. It's not just about Israel, of course, the things you point out. Telling the government of Israel not to defend its citizens in the north. Brennan, I was here in Israel last week. My wife forced me to run to one of those safe rooms when we heard the explosions. I didn't want to go. I said, I'm not afraid. That's real. Those sirens go off, you run for cover. But it's much more than just Israel, Brennan. It's a defeat for the United States. Donald Trump, as of this moment, we hope something will change. His legacy, for God's sake, like what in God's name? Who is influencing Donald Trump to make the most outrageous statements with regard to what used to be our ally, Israel, just a short time ago, working together? Now, Iran, they're the good guys. Hamas, they're the good guys. Hezbollah, they're okay. Missiles flying into Israel. Nobody gets hurt, thank God. What's the big deal? Our president says, what happened here? This is a tragedy. Brennan, is there anybody in this world that thinks that Donald Trump has shown leadership? Anyone think that Donald Trump is the winner in all this? Absolutely not. We are the losers in this. It is a shame. It could have been over a long time ago with a great victory for the United States. What's coming out of Iran today, the leaders of Iran are talking about that they defeated America. Iran is the winner. They defeated America. And that's how they feel. And you know what? I can't blame them based on this agreement that is an absolute total farce. This is bad for America, bad for the world, bad for our allies. What in God's name has happened to this administration suddenly with J.D. Vance running the show and undermining Israel and being critical? Some of the nastiest things are coming out of the vice president at this moment that, by the way, as a side note, Brennan, are creating unbelievable Jew hatred, not only in America, like we need a little more. We know what's going on in this country with anti-Semitism. It is very, very sad. And I think, Brennan, to me, I just want to say the lesson has always been when we put our total trust in a man, you know, Donald Trump has been a great, great friend, a great leader, and a great friend of the people of Israel. But when we put our trust in a man and we forget that God runs the world, God, you remember the guy, God, he's the one that really runs things. And that's what makes me feel strong, in spite of all the nasty things that are going on coming out of this administration. America has lost. America has capitulated. This is a tragedy for us. It's not just about Israel. It's America that is weak at this particular moment.
I agree with everything you're saying. And the comments by J.D. Vance today, from the White House, let me play them for the audience. I know I played them today at 1 o'clock Central for radio and TV, but let's play them again. Here we go.
What I will say, and this does bother me, is that you've seen people within Bibi's cabinet who have come out and attacked the deal and in some ways very personally attacked the President of the United States. And I guess my message to them would be twofold. Number one, Donald J. Trump is the only head of state in the entire world who is sympathetic to the nation of Israel at this moment in time. And he happens to be the head of state of the world superpower. If I was in the cabinet of the Israeli government, I might not be attacking the only powerful ally that I have anywhere left in the entire world. And the second message I would give to some of those cabinet members, Bibi, to his credit, has not gone down this path, but to some of these cabinet members in Israel who are attacking the President of the United States, the other thing that I would say is that over the last 3 months, 2/3 of the defensive weapons that have protected your homeland have been built by American hands and paid for by American tax dollars. The problem for Israel is not Donald J. Trump. And anybody in Israel who thinks their biggest problem is the President of the United States needs to wake up and smell the reality of the situation that country is in. Thank you all.
Comment on that, please.
I mean, unbelievable. I should point out to J.D. Vance that Israel is the democracy, the only democracy in the Middle East, and that members of the cabinet, members of parliament in Israel, of the Knesset, they have every right to say what they believe. That's what democracy is all about, Vice President Vance. And, the holding up, Brennan, the idea that the United States is the only friend of Israel. A, there are many friends, but B, it's much more than just that. To Israel, it's about its very, very survival. It's about protecting its citizens. Most people who are, forget about the left, forget about the Democrats, they were against this war from day one. But so many other people on our side, Brennan, including yourself and me and so many other people, they see this deal for what it is, whether J.D. Vance likes it or not. This is weakness. This is capitulation. This is treacherous. This is Chamberlain returning from meeting with Adolf Hitler in 1938. Just a little bit of history. When the Prime Minister of England returned to England after meeting with Adolf Hitler, and he was declared one of the great people of the world by the New York Times editorials and editorials in newspapers all over the world because he preserved the peace, while Adolf Hitler was laughing. And we know how long that peace lasted in 1938. And I'm sorry to say, it hurts my heart to say this, but this is even worse. I mean, it is so obvious, Brennan, that this is a capitulation. We could have won. 2 months. 2 months ago, we could have ended all this in a great victory for America. Instead, it hurts my heart to say this because I love America more than anything else in the world. We are the laughingstock of the world. Maybe they smile to Donald Trump when they meet him personally behind his back. There is no doubt. There is no doubt they laugh to what a farce this has been. America should never have gotten involved against Iran if they weren't prepared to win, for God's sake. And unfortunately, this is a very sad day for America at the present time. We hope something changes. We hope so. But, the administration with people like Vance and others, they're just making it worse with the horrible things they're saying, undermining the state of Israel, the Jewish state. Israel, in spite of anything that Vance said, is strong, proud, and the people of Israel, Brennan, I'm here and I've been traveling all over the country. The people of Israel are united and they get it. They understand that this deal is a betrayal, plain and simple. Donald Trump has been fabulous. I have said so many times on your show that when it comes to Israel, no one has ever been like Donald Trump. No one even comes in second place or third place as a great friend. But Brennan, that was yesterday. Today is a new day. And for the people of Israel, still surrounded by those who want to destroy her, Iran is celebrating tonight because they believe they have won against the superpower America and Israel. That's what they are saying publicly, in detail. They won, we lost.
I agree with everything you've said, and I want to go to another clip. I don't know if you've seen this one coming from The Onion. Here we go.
But yeah, you've seen people in their system, Ben Gvir and Smotrich, who've attacked the deal. And I guess my response to them would be, what is your exact proposal? And, you're a country of 9 million people. You can't just kill your way out of solving every single national security problem that you have.
Can't just kill your way out of it. I mean, again, and then you had President Trump's comments the other day from France talking about, you guys are attacking apartment buildings and the little drones they drop down the desert, and yet you guys go attack apartment buildings filled with civilians. This seems to be the talking points of Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, and these other folks, in my opinion.
And by the way, the Democrats, the radical Democrats, the radical Islamists, that's exactly unbelievable how things have changed, Brennan. And what a powerful lesson. What a powerful lesson. And again, the lesson to me on a personal level, as I said before, thank God I believe in God. I know that's not like maybe fashionable to say, let's be practical about this. Israel needs weapons from America. I get it. And Israel appreciates the friendship of America. But Israel has been an amazing ally of the United States. And Donald Trump and Vance and all the others felt the same way only a couple of days ago, a couple of weeks ago. It is very sad, very tragic. I can't say that I am totally shocked by any of this. Donald Trump threw the towel in. Donald Trump gave up. And a great leader does not give up in spite of anything. You want to be Churchill or just the opposite? And unfortunately, Donald Trump is making his bed in history right now, and it's not very pretty.
Well, I saw this coming, and I don't know, what was it, Logan, 3-4 months ago? We'll have to pull the tape. I said if President Trump continues on this trajectory, he will go down as one of the most unpopular presidents in American history. And that will be, I guess, decided on issue to issue and demographic to demographic. With people like me, a Christian Zionist, he will go down very poorly in his numbers in the area of Israel and the Middle East and Islam. We'll see economically what that turns out. But the issue, everything cannot be about money. Everything is not decided by the bottom line of the dollar figure. There are moral issues here at stake. You know, what profit a man if he gains the whole world and loses his soul? And we have also another clip. I don't know if you've seen this or not. David Brody of CBN News, Christian Broadcasting Network, he interviewed Vance and he put out a clip. And I'm going to play it. But he, in his own Twitter feed, David Brody says, Vice President J.D. Vance says he's not uncomfortable standing alongside Iran's parliament speaker, Mohammad Ghalibaf, during the upcoming ceremony in Switzerland. He said it should be noted, this is David Brody writing, saying it should be noted that Ghalibaf is a hardline terror leader who has been linked to the decisions that resulted in the murder of tens of thousands of Iranian civilians in the streets months ago. Listen to this, please.
You're going to Switzerland. Mohammad Ghalibaf will be there.
Sure.
He has supported some of what happened in the streets in Tehran, with tens of thousands killed, slaughtered. How uncomfortable is that going to be for you? I mean, obviously, you don't support the actions of what he did, but you're going to be standing next to him.
You know, it's not uncomfortable. I think what the president would say, and I certainly agree, is that you deal with all kinds of people in international relations. Sometimes you deal with very nice people. Sometimes you deal with very not nice people. Our goal is to try to make the region safer, but most importantly, get what we need for the American people. I think that we're going to be able to do that. And again, if we don't feel comfortable with what they're doing, and most importantly, if we don't see the conduct following some of the promises that they're making, then they're not going to get the good end of the bargain.
You know, I want to go back to the beginning of the question. When you leave it right there, please. Now, when he realizes what the topic is, would that not be the moment that your shoulders would drop a little bit and your mouth would frown? Would your body language not immediately change because of what he just said and your agreement? This is very difficult to hear, and it makes me very sad to think about what this man was behind and doing. Ask yourself, listening friends and viewing friends, would you maintain this facial expression at the beginning when this man is asking a question? You had plenty of time to change your facial expression. You know, the eyes are the window to the soul, but so is the whole face.
You're going to Switzerland. Mohammad Ghalibaf will be there.
Sure.
He has supported some of what happened in the streets in Tehran, with tens of thousands killed, slaughtered. How uncomfortable is that going to be for you? I mean, obviously, you don't support the actions of what he did, but you're going to be standing next to him.
You know, it's not uncomfortable. I think what the president would.
Wow, I don't like that. I go off body language. That is not the facial expression and the body language and the cavalier attitude of someone you're about to stand next to that was behind the murder of 85,000 people. Look, I've been warning you guys about J.D. Vance from the beginning. A man that is in bed with Palantir. That's according to people who've done the homework, that Palantir helped put him where he is, right, Logan? I mean, you're the one that sits there and hosts a show with Patrick Wood. Isn't it Palantir that helped get him there, Peter Thiel? And isn't Peter Thiel that wants a file on every American? First of all, before I go to another clip, I don't trust J.D. Vance as far as I can throw him. J.D. Vance it will never be president of the United States unless Donald Trump doesn't finish his 4 years. And maybe we'll get J.D. Vance as president as part of God's judgment. Maybe God's going to say, hey, America, you want to go down that road? You want to go down that road? Okay. I'm going to providentially make it so that Donald Trump does not finish his term, and I'm going to give you J.D. Vance, a guy that was put there by, I guess, Palantir, and wants the social credit scores and a file on every American. You know what, America? You want a guy like that? Here you go. Maybe we'll get J.D. Vance as president if President Trump doesn't finish his term. I hope he does, just because I don't want ill against President Trump, and I don't want America to have J.D. Vance as president. What did you make of that body language and facial expression?
It's called political expediency. It was horrible to watch that moment. You are exactly on target. Vance scares the daylights out of me for quite a while, but especially it's all coming out now. Look, Brennan, we're going to be talking soon on your show. He is in for a rude awakening. So is Donald Trump and the administration. They're going to find out what Iran is all about. It's going to be a very rude awakening. They should know without being awakened, but they are going to find out that they have taken us down to the road of hell. I'm not kidding. This does not end well. This is a defeat for our great, great country, orchestrated by J.D. Vance and a bunch of other people, with the President of the United States, leading the charge now. Anyone who says anything about this, anything that's critical, is stupid, idiotic, or all the other things that are being said. You know what a big fan I have been of Donald Trump. I am so incredibly disappointed because this is so dangerous. This is not just another issue where, okay, we disagree. Okay, fine. We agree on most things. We disagree. This is so fundamental. We are talking about a terrorist regime. I listened to Donald Trump, what he promised America, and he is not delivering on any of it. Zero. Mark my words.
Here is J.D. Vance trying to separate himself from AI and social credit scores, which, again, I think shows you everything you need to know about Vance. I mean, added to what we've already added. When he's this tied, according to numerous reports, to Palantir and Peter Thiel, and now he wants to act like he's going to be the savior of us from AI and social credit scores, I think, again, folks, in my opinion, you're watching a very evil man who is an actor. Here we go.
The thing I really worry about with AI is surveillance. AI is, a friend of mine once said that AI is fundamentally a communist technology in that it allows governments and corporations to surveil people in very profound and different ways. And that scares me a lot. Like, I don't want a social credit system that's powered by AI. I don't want you to not be able to buy a beer because some tech CEO has given you a score based on an artificial intelligence algorithm that nobody actually understands. That scares me too. But I don't think we're going to have mass unemployment. We might have mass inequality. That's its own problem. It's a different problem, though.
Okay, so all of a sudden now he wants to be concerned about AI and social credit scores. Really? Really? Isn't it Palantir that said they want to file in every American, Logan? There you go, Dov.
Look, J.D. Vance, again, we can never underestimate him. He's smart, he's articulate, and he is incredibly dangerous. Nobody can guarantee what's going to happen in the future, but I'm pretty confident he will not be president of the United States. I don't know what the future holds, but this is a very sad moment in our history because, Brennan, we could have won. We could have had Donald Trump go down in history truly as one of the greatest leaders ever.
Yep.
And that ain't happening. It's just not happening anymore. I think people, a lot of people have to play the game with him. Everybody knows what he's looking for, what he wants. But at the end of the day, you and I know what people are saying all over the world behind his back, the leaders of countries throughout the world. This is a very weak man. He wants to show power, but he shows weakness. And he has shown the ultimate weakness by giving the terrorist regime in Iran a huge victory against America. It is a sad, sad day.
I mentioned it today on radio and TV, and I want to mention it tonight, get your thoughts. Where is the guy that is in the White House, Logan? He posted up there. Here's one of them right here. Here we go. I've been here. This is a guy inside the White House. What's his title in the White House? It is Assistant to the President, Deputy Chief of Staff. He says here, I have been fortunate to fly around the world on this iconic plane for 5.5 years of the 35 years it has been serving the U.S. President. Thank you, Air Force One 2900. This is reportedly the last flight as officially Air Force One. And if you'll pull that down, I'll try to find the other one from the big dude that's in the White House. The big old guy. What's his name, Logan? That big guy, like, huge. What's it? How do you spell that? Stephen Chung? CHU? All right. Because he even went more. I mean, here we go. All right. So he's actually, here we go. Let's show his page. He's the White House communications guy. And he says, well done, good and faithful servant, last ride. Now, I find it very interesting that this is supposedly the last ride of Air Force One coming back from the G7 with all that was said there. That was a real problem. And we've been playing the clips the last 2 days. I haven't played them all here for you. You've seen them, though. This was the last ride. Why? Because they're going to a new plane that happens to be provided by Qatar. Trump's new Air Force One. Let's see if that new Air Force One. What is that, about a $400 million plane? And as I read it, again, from the press, here it is. This goes to the president's library. That may be AI, but that's what the plane looks like. It goes to the president's library when he's done with it. That's what I'm reading. I'm not saying that's the fact. I don't have the facts on it other than what I'm reading. But there you got this $400 million plane, a gift from Qatar that apparently is going to be the last Air Force One. We played the other day some PBS clippings. That's other outlets reporting the, $6 billion fund that Kushner has with a lot of money from Qatar and Saudi Arabia, etc. I mean, is this what's influencing this family and President Trump? Or my reporter on the ground today in Israel said at 1 o'clock, he said that he wonders if Trump changed after he visited China, that President Trump doesn't want a war with China. He can't afford a war with China. We maybe don't even have the military equipment we need between Israel and Ukraine to do anything. And maybe the deal was we're going to kind of step aside. And now we hear that China is going to come in and offering money to rebuild in Iran and to offer infrastructure and rebuilding in Lebanon. China is now moving into the region.
Well, I'm not surprised. The full story of what has been going on in these negotiations, the full story has not been told yet. But I guarantee you, mark my words, it is written all over. It's about billions and tens of billions and hundreds of billions of dollars that this administration is involved in. I hate to say it, but I bet my life on it that money is an amazing key factor in what's going on behind the scenes. Nobody talks about that. But that is exactly what is going on behind the scenes. The money that is coming from, first of all, you mentioned the plane, $400 million plane from Qatar. How grateful is Donald Trump to Qatar? How grateful is he? And how grateful is he and Kushner and the rest of the crowd? Boy, they see those dollar signs, they see that money, and that is playing a major role. And Brenna, just mark my words. Remember this clip right now. It is so much about the billions and billions of dollars that people in the Trump administration and others stand to benefit as part of this deal. That is a story that is coming soon to your local theater.
And as we get ready to wrap here, Dov, one has to wonder if there's going to be a major loss by the Republican GOP party midterms, and then there's going to be investigations that they're already preparing. There's going to be indictments, perhaps. There are going to be subpoenas, for sure. How long before we find out about deals and hearings that are being carried on television? I mean, we may find ourselves sitting here at the news desk with you as a guest for hours on end, kind of watching like Iran-Contra hearings we did during the 80s. I was growing up, I would get up early in the morning and I cut like 20 yards a week or whatever it was. And I would get up early in the morning in the 80s and cut my lawn so I could be back home in time to watch the Iran-Contra hearings. And of course, Oliver North was there. And of course, I ended up working closely with Oliver North over the years. And so that was kind of interesting in and of itself. But I grew up watching all that. I was intrigued by all that. We may find ourselves watching that kind of hearing again with the money deals, and we may be absolutely stunned at what is subpoenaed and what comes out.
Yeah. Well, I think the Trump administration, the president, there's no question that the concern about the economy, the midterm elections, played a major, major role in this ridiculous suicidal deal. No question about it. But at the end of the day, Brennan, I think the Democrat Party, the Republican Party, I think the Republicans are in more trouble now, this moment, than ever before. They never had the Democrats. We know what the polls are showing with Democrats, independents, but now you have Republicans who are concerned, who are deeply concerned. And look, I hope I'm wrong, but there's a real possibility, the House for sure, going to the Democrats, but the possibility, and I hope to God it doesn't happen, the Senate going to the Democrats. And if that happens, as you pointed out, oh my God, it will be a horror show for Donald Trump. It will be, it will be a chance for Donald Trump to resign and give it over to Vance. It will be so hard if the Democrats take control. It's over. Those last 2 years of a Trump administration will be hell on wheels. No question about it. And Donald Trump, who may think that, oh, look, prices of gas are going to go down, the economy, it ain't happening. It ain't happening. This is the defeat for America. People see it clearly. Many conservatives in this country are rubbing their head, trying to figure out what the hell happened here. And on top of everything that Trump has said, now you got Vance indulging in rhetoric that literally, it's just horrible. What can I say? Except it'll all be good for America, and it'll be good for Israel because God runs the world. We sometimes forget about that because we say, no, Trump said if not for him, there wouldn't be an Israel. Isn't that what he said?
Yeah.
I mean, Huckabee straightened him out on that one. Really? God doesn't play a role? Trump thinks he's God? Well, he's not.
Yeah, you're right. And so I want to ask in conclusion, Daniel, the book of Daniel, that's Old Testament. So I know you study the Old Testament, right?
Oh, you bet. Always still studied all the time, all my life.
So this is where you and I can talk. We won't talk New Testament, but we can certainly talk Old Testament, right? And sure. I'm teaching through the book of Daniel right now, verse by verse on Sunday nights. I'm in Daniel chapter 6. We just saw in Daniel chapter 5, Belshazzar saw the writing on the wall, the hand of God, judgment, found weighed in the balance and found wanting. Before that, we saw Nebuchadnezzar. He in his arrogance was such that he was made to eat grass like a wild animal and was soaked in the dew of the earth for 7 years until he lifted up his eyes and acknowledged the one true God who brings up leaders and takes down leaders, and his kingdom was restored to him. Belshazzar was not. He was killed that night for blaspheming God and using the temple instruments in this blasphemous, mocking manner, almost as though I know the prophet Daniel. I don't know him, but I've heard of him. He basically says that to him when he comes in. And, I've heard of you. The queen comes in, I think probably the queen mother, and tells him, you might want to grab Daniel here. And he comes in, he's like, I've heard of you. So he apparently didn't know him. He was probably moved to a side, now to public service at this point. And he tells him what the writing on the wall means. But he is mocking God, I think, because I think he knew about Daniel's prophecy to Nebuchadnezzar that this kingdom would fall to the Medo-Persian Empire. And it was almost though he was mocking God and saying no. And now he's using the instruments from the temple brought over from Jerusalem to Babylon for the polytheistic treasury of the gods of Nebuchadnezzar and Belshazzar. And maybe there was even some historians say, as was common in the Roman Empire, a mixture of banquet and sexual orgy going on. And he blasphemed God. And now I did a whole slide for my presentation back on May 16th, comparing the comparisons between Donald Trump and King Nebuchadnezzar. And I ended up pulling it out of my presentation May 16th because I thought, I don't know if the audience is ready for that. I have to be sensitive to try to teach in a way where the audience is learning and not reacting and pulling back because I gave them too much too early. So last week, I pulled that out. I said, you weren't ready for this on May 16th. I think you are now. And I showed him a slide comparing Nebuchadnezzar and the chapter and the verse, and then Donald Trump. But now I'm combining Nebuchadnezzar with Belshazzar, because now he's moved into a point of blaspheming God when he says, there'd be no Israel except for me. Well, God makes it very clear that Israel, the Jewish people, are the apple of his eye, and he has a plan for them. And so, I have to wonder now if there's been a mixture of Nebuchadnezzar with Belshazzar in Donald Trump. From the Old Testament, does that speak to you?
It does, but I want to hold out some hope that in spite of some of the things that Donald Trump has said, I know it's hard, I know it's tough. I want to be generous, I want to be kind, but I also want to be honest with myself because it really hurts. It hurts to watch what's going on. It's very, very, very sad. So I still want to hold out some kind of hope that Donald Trump said, maybe something changes. I think all of us, would it be nice if there was a moment from Donald Trump where he would say, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. I made a mistake. One moment of that. We're all human. We all make mistakes, for God's sake. We all hope that we continue to grow. If you don't grow, you descend. So I'm still hoping for that moment. It's hard to believe with Donald Trump. But Brennan, I'm still hoping that.
But you know how many of us, like you and my audience, would say, wow, Donald Trump humbled himself, said he was wrong, and apologized. I mean, you know how much that would mean to many of us who have supported him and tried to be supportive of him when he was under attack personally, his family. That would mean so much, because I think most Americans, and certainly most conservative Americans and religious Americans, they want to be forgiving. They want to be gracious, right? But he has to show some repentance here.
Yeah. No, listen, absolutely. It's not his style. It's not what we have watched over the many, many years with him. But, the man is 80 years old. You don't live forever. You got to think about the life. You may want to convince everyone that you are the greatest person in the history of the world by putting your name on buildings, by all the things that he has done. But I am still hoping, Brennan, maybe hope against hope, that moment where he says to the American people, where he says to us, look, I've tried to do the best. I love America, and he does. But you know what? I make mistakes like everyone else, and I have made them. If that moment ever comes, Brennan, I think the Messiah will come as well.
It'd be a miracle. Here's the final topic tonight. Defiant Netanyahu refuses to pull troops out of Lebanon despite Iran peace deal. And I say, good for him. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem tonight, my friends. This is very serious stuff we're going through here. Very serious stuff we're going through. Dov, be safe, my friend. When do you come back to the States?
In about a couple of days, and it's always a pleasure to be with you. And like I said, this is a very difficult time. And we have always faced difficult times, but just think about it. Monday, you and I are best friends. On Wednesday, you're putting a knife in my back.
Dov, what's your website?
I might even, sure, I think you have it.
Let me, well, I know we have you on Twitter.
Yeah.
There. But you don't have an organizational website?
No.
Okay, let me go. Yeah, let me go to his Twitter feed, and it's pulling up, and there it is. All right, go right there, please, Logan. There it is, right there. At Hikind Dove, right there.
Right, that's it.
Hikind, and then another DOV. There it is. Follow him on X, would you please? Be safe, my friend. Thank you for checking in, and we need to get you on more often.
Always a pleasure to be with you. God bless you.
You too, my friend. Shalom. Dov Hikind checking in tonight. Follow him on X. Wow, great interview, but very serious interview. We'll be right back with Pastor Brandon Holthouse. Don't go away.
Friends, this is Brandon House. For more than a year now, I've been teaching through the book of Revelation, and the response from you has been overwhelming. You've asked me again and again, when are you going to put this study in print? We want to mark it up. We want to share it with our families. Well, it's here. My brand new 2-volume commentary on the book of Revelation, verse by verse, chapter by chapter. This is not a watered down, allegorized replacement theology approach to Revelation. This is a literal, grammatical, historical study, the way the Lord intended his word to be read. And I connect the prophecy of Revelation to the headlines you're watching unfold right now, the rise of global government and the convergence of end-time events the Lord Jesus warned us about. Folks, we are living in serious days, and there has never been a more important time to understand what God has told us about what is coming. Get your 2-volume Revelation commentary today at worldviewstore.com. That's worldviewstore.com.